NATO has said any use of tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine will almost certainly prompt a physical response. Permitting Ukraine to join NATO will guarantee World War III, a senior Russian official has said in a dire warning to the West. Meanwhile, a senior NATO official has said any use of nuclear weapons by Russia within Ukraine would almost certainly trigger a physical response from Kyiv's allies, including members of the alliance. Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, announced a surprise bid for fast-track membership of the NATO military alliance at the end of September, in response to President Vladimir Putin's proclamation of 4 partially occupied regions as annexed Russian land. However, speaking to state news agency TASS, Alexander Venediktov, the deputy secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, said such a move was fraught with risk. He explained, Kyiv is well aware that such a step would mean a guaranteed escalation to a World War III. Apparently, that's what they are counting on, to create informational noise and draw attention to themselves once again. Mr. Venediktov also repeated Russia's stance that the West, by helping Ukraine, indicated that they are a direct party to the conflict. NATO troops are not involved in fighting within Ukraine, but are supplying large numbers of weapons, with Britain today confirming it is donating air defense missiles capable of shooting down cruise missiles to Ukraine in the wake of Russian strikes on Kyiv and other cities in recent days. Speaking on condition of anonymity yesterday prior to a meeting of NATO's nuclear planning group on Thursday, the NATO official said any use of nuclear weapons by Moscow would have unprecedented consequences. Meanwhile, NATO said it would go ahead with its annual nuclear preparedness exercise dubbed Steadfast Noon next week, in which NATO air forces practice the use of US nuclear bombs based in Europe with training flights without live weapons. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg said on Tuesday that cancelling the drills because of the war in Ukraine would send a very wrong signal. He added, "It's an exercise to ensure that our nuclear deterrent remains safe, secure and effective." The insider said a nuclear strike by Moscow would almost certainly be drawing a physical response from many allies, and potentially from NATO itself. Nevertheless, Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to be using his nuclear threats mainly to deter NATO and other countries from directly entering its war on Ukraine, he stressed. More than 7 months into the invasion of Ukraine, Russia has suffered huge losses in men and equipment and has been beaten back on several fronts within the last month. Putin has vowed to defend what he sees as Russian territory with nuclear weapons if necessary. Speaking to UK News last week, Nikolai Petrov, a research fellow at the Chatham House think tank in London, said, "I think that the situation is dangerous because Putin is not the person who can accept his failure." He added, "So in my view, Putin will try next to put a lot of pressure onto Ukraine, bombing civilian infrastructure and energy infrastructure on the eve of the winter, and he will use this leverage against Ukraine and against the West. And the last option is to use tactical nuclear weapons, which is not a very rational move by any standards, but we are not seeing rational moves coming from Putin for a while."